Sometimes when people want to do something, they have to go to some extreme measures to encourage them, perhaps a little bit, so they don't forget, so they can keep it in a bin that is labeled important. I do that sometimes, you know. As spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for all people, one of the things that every individual is entitled to on earth, since the business, or since the skill, since the ability exists, is that of health care. Everybody who is sick requires, desires, and wants health care. And that profession is alive and well. We don't have enough for sure, but that's a problem that we have to fix to make sure that adequately all people can receive health care. Now, one of the things that I have set aside to draw my attention and to keep me alert to the importance of health care is that part of health care that is so obvious, and that's when you meet people and they smile. They smile, and if they got a beautiful smile, and usually a beautiful smile means some pearly whites or some good-looking teeth. And there are so many people in this country for reasons that are not unique to this country. Yet, they don't have access to that health care. Now, for me, I have had the wherewithal to take care of my dental care. I've had the wherewithal. I'm not going to try to deny that. But I did choose not to. I choose not to because I tell you, man, when you see a person smile, man or woman, and they got some nice teeth, it just looks out of sight. When I know what it means to look out of sight, there was a time when I used to look out of sight. I had some nice teeth. But I let them go so I can be reminded that a system needs to be implemented whereby access to health care for everybody always is made available to them, to make sure that they get access to dental care. Always. And when I look in the mirror and I see my messed up mouth, it reminds me that this is not so. See, my plan of it is, the reason that I didn't get the health care that would prevent me from looking like this and not having that beautiful smile and not being able to kiss anybody, because who wants to get there, is that if any of you out there can't do it, and I represent something that's different than the world. The world has a different representation. They're all about markets. They're all about privatization and money. Let's put it that way. We all understand that. They're all about money. But the mission that I am on is not about money. It's about all the other stuff. Let me pause this for a second. I'd like to apologize for that interruption. But as was being said, that the health care, the dental care is very, very important. And that shortage of medical professionals must be dealt with. You know, ladies and gentlemen, I'm thinking one of the things that moves me in this is that sometimes there are things that we can do that is not just as important to everybody. It doesn't really offend, but maybe not to the degree that someone might be interested in engaging themselves. But it doesn't really cause them any problems, so that's okay. Well, that's where people have the liberty to choose, to make choices about what they want to do, and have that right to find things that represent themselves, that meets their particular needs. And as long as it does not infringe upon that of others, good, great. That's what we search for. It's the ones that infringes upon the rights of others that causes the problems. That is what we call illegit. And for some strange reason, during these present times here in America, it appears as if the effort has been made and is being made to operate totally against what has been acceptable as a normal way of life that would hopefully produce a satisfied life. Well, no one is missing a lot of marks, but at least projection that a goal. And now we find that even though that might have been an acceptable model for quite some time, right now it's not acceptable. In fact, its alternative is being called out for. And what that represents is various governments in various places around the world. It represents philosophies of life around the world. And it's contradictory or contrary to what we as Americans have tried to claim to at least be in pursuit of, and that is that fairness, that justice that one speaks of or desires that other nations don't worry about. But instead we find ourselves with a government organization that represents about people that have been voted in, that would represent what America has not been about, but what America's enemies represent, which themselves present themselves as the enemy within. It's kind of frightening, though, when you see a cancer and it comes and attaches itself to you. You see it. And you're not supposed to do anything to take that cancer off. Maybe we don't want to go as far as the cancer. Let's go back up to the teeth. That disgust, that debilitating way of dealing with life, with the inability to eat, maintain hygiene, maintain your health, because of situations that you haven't been able to master, but could be mastered in different ways that do not exist and usually people aren't interested in. Like we're interested in cutbacks. That's what they're basically talking about today, cutbacks. And so when we talk about these cutbacks, you're talking about dealing with an enemy that brings about pain, that brings about justice and more pain and more justice. That's like doing the duty of the evil one. And the people know it. We've been called out for it, but they don't care. So for me, if this is being called out as evil, called out as being ugly, called out as being anti-religion, which is fine with me, then it says it's for the evil one. It's of Satan. It's of the devil. I mean, lying, cheating, stealing, killing, eating, all that war, stuff like that can't be of God, can it? So if it's not of God, then it is of the other one. And so if they can boldly stand across the globe and say they represent the other one, and the people say that's okay, then I can stand up boldly and say I represent God. A God that loves me and every last one of you just as much as me. And he represents everything that this guy and this system and this ideology is against. But there's no shame in my game with you wanting to do what you want to do, Because this is not about stopping you from doing what you want to do. It's just showing you the difference between what is done that would produce satisfaction or not, giving you a more conscious choice. And so what the whole matter of it is that I know people don't want to talk about God. I'm well aware of that. And I don't blame you. If I did not know a God that cared about you, I wouldn't talk about it either. I'm talking about a God that wanted you to that wanted you to have your dreams met. I wouldn't talk about it either. A God that wanted you to live as though you were in heaven. If I didn't know of a God that cared that much about you, I'd deny it, had nothing to do with it either. A God that wanted you to be happy, joyous, prosperous, and free, and to live your dreams. If I didn't know a God that wanted that for you, I'd deny it as well. I wouldn't waste my time with it. And when I'm talking about you, I'm talking about every last one of you. But I do know a God that wants all of that for you. Don't want you to suffer for nothing. Food, clothing, shelter, education, health care, transportation, and on top of that, to make sure that you can feel good about it. Wants you to have a career of your choosing. A career that gives you your greatest joy. Why? Because this gives you joyous living day and night. And out of your joyous living day and night, that same power that created this earth, created this universe, created us, and put us here, will have what we are doing interconnected in such a way that we never have to suffer for anything. Food, clothing, shelter, education, healthcare, transportation, anything that's made by the hands of man. If I didn't know a God that wanted that for you, I'd be quiet too. But I know a God that wants that for you and has made it possible for you to have that if you decide that you want that and change your way of thinking and acting. And act like you want that as opposed to acting like this you got. All right? I know a God that I'm not ashamed of. I don't mind witnessing for, because that God loves you regardless of what you think. Goodbye.